Good morning, everybody. It's Pastor Ralph again. I've been teaching on embracing change, and change is inevitable. And I'm loving change right now because in my life is changing in so many different dimensions. And so today, I want to review part one of last week when I talked to you about it. Just a quick review. When we talk about embracing change, I talked to you out of Isaiah 43:19 from the Message Bible. And it talked about focusing on new things that God is doing in your life. Instead of focusing on things that have happened to you in the past, what are the new things that God is doing in your life? And give your attention to that, because where your attention goes, there goes your energy. And so you don't want to put your energy in the past. We've had so much teaching on getting out of the past and living in the now. As you can see, since we're talking about change, you look around, it's a beautiful place that I'm at today. It's greenery, it's lovely. It's here in Murrieta, California, and it's a wonderful place to be as we approach change in our life. And so sometimes you got to change your environment to do something different in your mindset. And so from Isaiah, that's what he talked about. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the main focus of that is there's a right time for everything. There's a right time. In other words, people want things when they want it, but there's a right time for everything. And if we respect time, you'll get what you need eventually. And so you got to have patience and be ready. Embrace change in your life. And then I want to talk to you just a little bit about this, the reasons for embracing change, the why. We talked about that last week, the why. If you got a big why, you have a big reason, and that'll help you to continue doing what you need to do to make those changes and to embrace them. So make sure your why, the reason why you do what you do, is clear to you. It's so important for you to do that. And if you have a large enough why, you'll keep you on the right track. That's the key. Now, here's another thing. If you have fear in your life, fear is a factor. It really is a factor in everything. And there was a program called The Fear Factor. I used to love watching that. But fear is a factor in everything that you do. Now, there's a healthy fear, but there's an unhealthy fear. In other words, we're cautious and we're hesitant because we don't know. And so when you know something, you can overtake that fear that's trying to paralyze you. So it's important that you recognize fear for what it is. And if you have, here's a big one, limiting beliefs. What are your beliefs? What do you really believe? A lot of people say they believe a lot of things, and you do, but how are your beliefs helping you move forward, or are your beliefs limiting you? If you start to forecast things before they happen, you start to have scenarios in your mind before they happen, you're already projecting things before they happen, you are limiting your outcome because your beliefs are stuck on a certain point. And sometimes we overthink too much. I know I'm guilty of overthinking, and so it's important that we don't have limiting beliefs stop us from our progress. Or what about self-esteem issues? Sometimes we have a lot of self-esteem issues. And if you notice, it's called self-esteem. People want to be esteemed by other people, but it's self-esteem. We got to look within ourselves, and we got to esteem ourselves by reading more and praying more, meditating more. Look in the mirror and give affirmations to yourself. Tell yourself what you want to be. Tell yourself who you really are. Don't look at life as things have dealt out to you and that's all that there is. You have an imagination that God has given you, and you need to speak from that imagination, speak from the heart, speak from possibilities in your life, and tell yourself that you're okay. Tell yourself that you're good. Give yourself a little pat on the back. It's not about being prideful. It's about showing gratitude and appreciation for who you are and for what you've been doing in this life. So that's important. And the other thing I want to talk about is changing, whether it's personal growth or a career shift. As I told you last time, I had a career shift. I'm in real estate now. I'm so excited about real estate. It's very different for me. It's very challenging, but it's rewarding. And so, but you have to make those shifts, and you have to adapt to the new circumstances that come with the changes. And it will involve several crucial aspects of your life. If you're going to do that, you got to make changes. You got to make sure that you're ready for those changes. Prepare your heart to do something different. I always say this, and it's a very simple thought. If you want to go a new direction, you have to think a new thought. If you're not thinking right, you're going to stay in the same kind of mindset that you've always been in. You've heard a lot of things about mindset lately. Mindset is so important. What's your attitude? Your attitude. What is your outlook on things? What are you perceiving daily? Are you positive, or generally are you negative? And so kind of make the choice that when changes come, view it from a positive standpoint. Don't view it from a negative standpoint. It's all positivity. And so here's some things to consider. This is from the first talk that we did in part one. Things to consider when you're embracing change. Self-awareness. I mean, self-awareness is a big thing. I'm so aware of myself today, more than I've ever been. My environment and how I am in my environment, my being, my way of being, in my environment, getting outdoors. I mean, this is wonderful. I love the outdoors here. It's just a beautiful place, landscaped. It's just the way God made it. The big trees, the air is fresh. It's a lot of shade here. It's a wonderful thing. Get outdoors more. Be aware of yourself. Become a part of nature. The other thing I talked about is willingness to learn. We got to have a willingness to learn. You got to be ready at all times to be open to things that are happening in your life. And what am I learning from the things that I'm going through and the changes that are happening in my life? What am I learning from these things that are changing? If I embrace these things and I learn from them, I'm going to be the better for it. And so the other thing is setting clear goals. Setting clear goals. Sometimes our goals are foggy. They're not really I would say tangible enough. They're abstract. And so be clear on your goals. And even though you don't know how to make clear goals all the time, just do something a little more than you used to. If you're walking a mile, go a mile and a half. If you want to change your diet, eat half of what you've been eating. One of the good ways to change your diet is get a smaller plate. That's the biggest thing. And get a smaller plate, put your stuff on there and eat. And you'll be surprised that if you get a smaller plate, then you won't be as hungry. Your eyes are more hungry than your stomach. So a lot of times I tell people this: drink a glass of water before you eat, and that'll help curb your appetite. And so you got to do things to change it. Embrace it. If you want something, you got to work for it. And the other thing is planning and preparation. It's such a powerful thing. Planning and preparation is the key to doing anything successful in life. What are your plans today? What did you plan to do this morning when you got up? Did you already have a plan that you made last night? Or when you got up this morning, did you begin to make a plan? I would suggest that you write out things when you go to bed that you want to see happen in your life, and then you can sleep on it. And God will give you dreams about it, man. He'll give you ideas about things while you're sleeping. And when you wake up in the morning, you already have something to do. So the preparation part is to do it the night before, and the planning part is to get up in the morning and activate those plans as soon as you get up. As soon as you get out of bed in the morning, your meditation, your mindset, and everything you want to do is already set for you to do. Your intentions are already set. And that's how we began to embrace change. Here we are, part 2, and I read out of the Message Bible again, and it's Romans chapter 12, 1 and 2. So if you could look at your Bible and follow along with me. If you don't have the Message Bible, then listen in. And here's what it says. This is the foundation that I'm using for change in our life. So here's what I want you to do. God is helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, you're eating, you're going to work, you're walking around life, and place it before God. And place it before God. Take everything that you do, everything you're eating, you're drinking, you're sleeping, you're planning. Take your everyday life and place it before God. This is what he's asking us. In other words, give it to him. A lot of times we say we give our lives to God, but we don't give the things of our life to God. And so therefore it's kind of a problem because you're still holding on to your life. But if you give God your life, embrace the change that God has your life, and he's going to do something far better than you could do with it. Listen, he goes on to say, take your everyday, ordinary life, sleeping, eating, going to work, walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do. It's the best thing that you can do. Just embrace what he's doing for you. Now listen, don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. I mean, there are a lot of things around us that we could just fit into, and we try to be things that we shouldn't try to be. We try to act out things we shouldn't try to act out. If the culture is doing something, what I've learned from the scriptures that we as Christians and people of God, we should affect the culture. We should not allow the culture to affect us in certain ways, in certain areas of our life. Not everything in the culture is bad, but you want to embrace the good stuff and the changes that are happening, because God is also in control of culture. He's in control of everybody. Nobody's in control on their own. God is still in control. So it's important for us to know that we shouldn't just fit into anything that's going on around us. He goes on to say, but you'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you. Readily recognize what God wants for you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity. God brings the best out of you and develops well-formed maturity in you. God brings the best out of you and develops well-formed maturity on the inside of you. That's really what's important. So I have a few things that I want to talk to you about, so we can embrace this change, like I said. And as we go through these things, I want you to write these things down and make note of it and use it as a thing to do or a thing to embrace or a thing to change. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is adaptability. Be adaptable in life. Sometimes we're so rigid that we're not adaptable. And so what I wrote down for that, I was thinking it through, being flexible and ready to adjust your plans. We make plans, but your plans should be adjustable. I never write plans with ink. I always write with a pencil. I know today people are typing things, but I'm an old school. I like to go back and write things on a pencil, and then I can change it or adjust it as I want to. And something happens when you write versus when you type. So if I'm writing, there's another function that goes on in my brain that helps me to remember things more. That's just my way of doing it. You find out the way that you do it and do it the way what's best for you. But being flexible and ready to adjust your plans as new information and circumstances arises is important for navigating change. It's so important to navigate change when you do that. So be adaptable in your life. Don't be so rigid and so stuck on who you were and who you used to be. If we want to embrace change, you got to be adaptable. Here's another thing. Support posse. You probably never heard of it like that before. Who is your support? Who do you have around you that's going to support what you do, that wants to undergird you, wants to stand by you, lean on you, to be there for you? I call it a support posse, a group of people who come together and they help you become and do the thing that you're becoming. So having a network of friends and family or mentors can provide encouragement and advice and assistance throughout the process. Here's the big question I want to ask you. I asked myself this question, so I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you have around you that you can rely on and count on for support? What's around you to do that? It means a lot of times it's your family. Sometimes it's your friends, it's your co-worker or co-employee. But who do you have around you that can support you? And here's the big thing. When you embrace change, you have to embrace that support. And sometimes the support will speak things to you that you don't want to hear, but you got to listen to it because they're your support. They see you from the outside looking in, and they can see things that you can't see. So it's so important that you have a good support posse so you can learn to embrace change and have a good advisory group that will talk to you about things that you don't even know yourself. I mean, there are a lot of things about me I don't know and I wasn't aware of, but when I have people that really love me, people that love you will tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not. And see, so it's important that you do that. So have your support posse. So be adaptable and have a good support posse around you. Here's another thing, persistence and patience. Man, that's a big one. It's really hard to talk to people about patience because we want it and we want it now. And that's not patience. When it comes to being patient, we have to work and we have to serve. We have to continue to do what we know to do while we're waiting on things to happen. So we want to make sure that we're persistent in doing what it is that we're to do, and we're to be patient with the process. So what I wrote down for this, and this is good, it's really helped me a lot. Change often takes time and may involve setbacks. Oh man, we don't want to hear that. Change may involve a setback, but it takes time. Maintaining perseverance and patience is crucial for seeing it through. So that's the thing I want to say to you is that you got to go with the idea that it's going to take some time and it's going to have some setbacks in your life. You're going to go through some things in your life that are going to appear to you to take you a different direction you want to go or set you back or cause you to wait. But those are important factors in your journey. And so whenever God says not now, he's not saying no. He's just saying not now. And when God says wait, he's not saying no. He's just saying it's not the right time. As we read earlier in part 1, there's a time and a right time for everything. And so it's important that we stay persistent, even though we don't see anything, no results, and that we stay patient with the process. If you embrace change and you see it happen, You know, a good friend of mine just had a baby boy, James, you know, my videographer. He does such a good job for us. I want to give a shout out to James Watson and his family and his new baby boy. But James will have to be patient because his son is going to eventually grow up. You can't grow him up because you want him to grow up. You want to go play ball with him. You'll get your opportunity to play ball with him. But right now he's a baby and he's growing up. He's such a beautiful baby too. And I really ask God to bless their family. It's such a great family. But when we have children, we have to be patient with our children. When you have a new project, you have to be patient with that project. A new project is like a new baby. So it's important for you to be persistent, doing what you know to do, doing what you're supposed to do, but be patient with the process. So that's really important for us to know. And the other thing, which is one of the last things that I'm going to talk about, is reflecting and adapting. Now, I talked about adaptability earlier, but I'm talking about from a different standpoint, reflecting and adapting. Regularly elevating your progress and making necessary adjustments ensures that the change remains effective in your life. That change that you make will become effective in your life. When you want to see something better you or situation or your company, the persistence, the adaptability, the being able to be flexible is going to be a key component in you actually realizing the effective change that's going to remain. You don't want change to be temporary per se in some regards. Some regards, everything is temporary. But if you want to have change, I don't want to go back to what I used to be. That's what I mean. Going forward, the change that I embrace is going forward, making me a better person. So I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. So if it's going to be temporary, let it be that I'm growing and maturing and I'm adapting the way he says. So reflecting on that and having the adaptability to do that is a powerful thing. So in conclusion, here's what I say to everybody, and I say this to myself on a regular basis. Listen, pray without ceasing. What does that really mean? Does that mean I have to pray all day, every moment of the day? No, it just means that in everything you do, make it an issue about prayer. You can't walk around and pray all day. I know some people think they can, but if you prayed all day, when would you sleep? When would you eat? When would you interact with people? No, prayer is about using prayer and talking to God in every situation that you find yourself in. And so when he says pray without ceasing, never let a situation show up in your life that you don't take to prayer. Whatever it is, you bring it to prayer. So pray without ceasing. Now, incorporating a daily reading time. I talked about that earlier. If you're not reading, you're not growing, you're not learning. So I said be open to learning. So you have to introduce new information and new ideas, even new opinions of other people to get a full understanding of what's going on around you when it comes to change. So it's important for us to do that. So implement a daily time of reading. Here's another thing. Meditate inwardly before outwardly, because when we meditate on what's inside, we can control that. But if you meditate on what's outside of you, you have nothing to do with the control of that. So you need to start from within and allow your meditation to be introspective rather than going out trying to be perspective with some of the situations you can't change. So I always say, you got to focus on the inward world before you can affect the outward world. And that's important for us to do. That's why meditation is so powerful. And reflection from the inside will help change and reset your beliefs. And we need to relentlessly act on it by faith. We need to relentlessly act on it by faith. So when we reset something in our life, you want to go ahead and relentlessly act on it by faith. Don't wait, don't hold back, act on it. If you say you're going to do something, you say you believe something, be relentless in your course of action by faith to do what it says. And so that's important. So adapting and adjusting to these external factors is crucial for survival, right? And here's the last thing I want to say. It says, for some individuals, this might mean updating skills or shifting careers for business. It may require of you a change that is so drastic to meet the increasing demands of the pressures that life sometimes can present to us. As something you got to be ready to do in your life. Be ready to evaluate, to assess, am I ready? Sometimes people, I say all the time, they want these big positions in their job. They want these big paycheck. Well, what comes with a big position is responsibility. To whom much is given, much will be required of you. And sometimes we're not cut out for that kind of accountability. You have to prepare yourself for that. You got to be willing to die on the hill, so to speak. You got to be willing to take responsibility, even if it hurts you. Sometimes it hurts people to say it's my fault. I did that wrong. But you know what? You got to be a person of integrity. You got to be able to stand before people, and you got to be able to admit to things that you didn't do so well. So when you want to have change in your life, you want to see things change and for the better, you want to see yourself elevate, you want to see yourself grow. The biggest thing I can say to you today is take responsibility to the things that are going on around you and embrace it. Don't get upset, don't get frustrated, don't voice your anger or fall into a default. Get to a place where, you know what, I can accept that. I may not like it right now. This is all temporary. I can do this. I can listen. I can be a part of what everybody's doing and be a support to what everybody's doing. Because if I want you to support me, I surely should set a precedent for me supporting you. So when we learn to embrace change, man, it's going to be better for you. It's going to be better for your household. It's going to be better for the world. And that's what I have for you today. In Jesus' name.